This episode of the Game Biz is brought to you by World of Tanks. If you guys have not tried out World of Tanks, just head on over to gboffer.com/tanks. Have you seen that 9.0 update? Shiny.
That is a hell of a game.
Isn't it? 9.0 is so crazy cool.
I gotta wait till I'm done with FTL before I go back.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Game Biz, the show where we take your business questions or anything about the industry, and Mr. Monty Sharma answers them. I'm just here to flap my gums. But joining me, as always, Mr. Monty Sharma. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Gary. How about you?
Good. We've been off a little bit, but we're back. Good to see you. Back into answering the community questions. I love when we get responses back from the community questions, like after we answer questions and people get back to us on those. That's the most fun part about this show.
That's good.
Show. Yeah. All right. So first up this week from Ray Flores. We know Ray. Ray's been around forever. He's an old-time GameBreaker fan. All right. So Ray says, just a question in regards to project design. He says, I have attempted to start several projects, but I've always felt my lack of organization has held me back. He says, usually I end up with a huge jumble of notepad files and handwritten sheets. I don't know why. I'm going to feel like so many game designers start out with this. He says, any recommendations that you can make on a program or method for project management that can get me organized and put my OCD at ease? Thanks for all the great info, Ray Flores. Don't you think a lot of creatives probably have this problem to some extent?
Yeah, you do. I mean, this is the perennial struggle between creative ideas and in execution. And when we work with teams and it's the early stage of the project and everybody just blue skying and you got all these ideas and it's so exciting, right? And it's this beautiful vista of opportunity in front of you. But just below you in that vista is the valley of doom. And that's the place where projects die. They die very quickly right there. And what happens is you have so many ideas that you're not quite sure where to start. As you start cutting ideas, especially in a team, it causes bad feelings, there's struggles, all that sort of stuff. The teams that can pull it off, and sort of what Ray needs to do is, you've got to start from a simple core. And so, if you look at any game and say, okay, what is it that's fun about this? I should be able to make that as a paper playable. I should be able to make that in a week. You put that part together and you try it. And is this fun? Does this make sense? If that part's fun, then you start layering things on in fixed periods of time. So this is the whole agile model of, look, we're going to work for 2 weeks, and then we're going to put out a build. And then we're going to work for 2 weeks, we're going to put out another build. As you do that, and you make sure that all the tasks you're sort of laying out are no longer than 2 hours, you break everything down to 2-hour chunks, and then you do stuff that you can finish. And so when you get to that 2-week timeline, you've got a build, and it's got finished stuff in it. That's really the core of the organization you need to get going. People try and write these massive design documents. It doesn't help you. Write 2 pages, start, and then say, okay, I need to detail something else out. That's 2 pages. And do that step by step instead of trying to write 100 pages up front.
Do you think something like that might help Ray to actually go and read a book maybe on Agile and kind of understand the concept and core of it? It sounds like he's got I've got ideas, I'm scribbling them down, and then he's got just a bunch of pieces of paper with things he thought of at different times, and he doesn't sort of know how to kind of put it all together.
It's the love of the idea. I mean, I've got people who come up to me and say, hey, I've got this idea, and they start telling me about this, ostensibly mobile game that 2 or 3 people are going to build. And I'm listening, and I'm listening, and I'm listening. I'm saying, you're up to about a $20 million budget now. You can't be doing that. And so the tough thing is, and the way to do it, Ray, is 2 pages. Limit yourself to say, I will not write more than 2 pages, and I need to get to the core of this. Once you get to the core and say that, okay, the fun is going to be in this movement, in this, style that I've got here, great. build it. See how
Tell me
that
this,
works.
I always heard, and tell me if you've ever heard of this way of doing something. Somebody once talking about, like, when you're trying to get to the core of the idea, whether it's like an app or a game or something. Someone actually told me, they said, I think it was even one page. They used the reference for one page, but they said, write a story, write a fictional story about how you envision, like, Bobby or Kim, whatever, like, uses this app or plays this game, and tell something about it. And you, is that a good way to maybe even start as well to get to that core?
Yeah, it is, especially in broader apps. I used to do that all the time. I used to call it a day in the life. What's somebody's life like when they're using this? On the game side, it's that play cycle. One of the other things to try, though, that sort of fits into that is games are not all that unique. I mean, probably not your first game is not going to be the most unique thing you've ever built or that's ever been built. It's like some other games, okay? And you've got creative twists on them. You've done some good stuff. You've balanced it well, but it's like some other games. Try those other games and say, look, this is the core fun. And I think the one-pager is a good idea. This is why this will be fun. You write out that story. Now let me just build that little part that should be fun. And even with programmer art, it should be just fine. You should say, oh, okay, there's something here. I like it. And that's the key to going.
All right, next up, get two questions here, I think. Oh, no, next question is one. So we have Mike here. Mike says, I just graduated, but my resume and portfolio are not ready. What should I do to put my best foot forward, and what do companies look for?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of portfolio reviews lately. The number one thing I'd say to anybody who wants to be in game design is should always have a portfolio ready. Like the first day you go to college, you start your portfolio, and it'll be crappy, but it'll get better over time. For your portfolio, what you really need to do is, number one, put your best foot forward. I've had people show me their portfolio, and there's some, like, just a terrible piece of art is the first thing you see. And it's like, why did you put that there? You've got other stuff that's good. Well, that's the first thing I've ever done. Well,
don't show me that. I don't want to see that. I want to see what you're capable of, not where you started.
So you put the best thing you have, you put it forward. And surprisingly, students don't like to brag a lot. So, I looked at one student portfolio and it's like, wait a minute, you've won an award on this game. This game launched. This game did this.
Put it on first page.
You've got to put first page, look at it on a laptop screen. If you can't see all that stuff.
I want to see pictures of you holding the award, smiling with the check. Yeah,
that's exactly it. You've got to brag about yourself. And the other thing about portfolios is edit. So, like I said, you start with whatever you have on day one, but every semester, every year, go through it and say, okay, these pieces here, are they really representative of what I'm able to do now? And you get rid of some of your older stuff. You're going to feel nostalgic about it. Oh, that was, the first time I did this, and I'm so proud of that.
Get rid of it.
That's fine. Get rid of it. So that's huge. The other thing that I hear from hiring managers all the time is don't make me work for it. So if you send me a portfolio that's a zip file, not going to look at it. If you say that here's a game that I've built and I've got to download it, you got a limited chance I'm actually going to download it. If you have some images up, if you've got a YouTube video that lets me see it play, then maybe I might say, okay, this is interesting. That this person's done something interesting. I'm now going to take an extra 10 minutes to look at that game. But if I don't have anything that sort of draws me in, I'm not going to give you that 10 minutes. I've got 40 other resumes to go through. So, portfolio, best foot forward. Make it easy on me. Make it really easy. Edit it well. Make sure you're showing multiple things, different styles. You look at some portfolio and you go, oh, yeah, gee, that's real nice. You did that. Yeah, it was influenced by Gears of War. And you flip through and you go, everything you have was influenced by Gears of War. Unless you're going to go work for only them, you've got to put some different stuff in. So, be creative with it, add stuff. If you're a programmer, and I get this from programmers, is, well, what do we put in? Should I put in a code sample? No, nobody wants to read a code sample. You put in all of the things you worked on, and you write in an honest, clear way that I built this part of it, or I built, I was the level designer here, and I built this subsystem, or I built combat. Any of those things, tell me what size team it was, tell me what environment you developed in. And then, again, you've got pictures, and you've got, the YouTube links and the download links. You're working in a visual field. So programmers sometimes, I don't know, they're clueless. They work on all these games, and all that's up there is static text, and you can't do that. The other thing, and this goes for your resume as well, is the most important things you want to say, think about them as a tweet. So people get really, really wordy. And, you pop open a resume, and it's just this wall of text. And, all right, I'm going to scan down this. And it's tough to do. So you break it down, make it simple, give me some white space around the big points, so it's easy to pick out. If you...
Because the bottom line is that first read-through, you're going to scan. You're scanning. Yeah. You're not reading this thing top to bottom, word for word, every detail. Somebody is scanning that first page or two, and if something doesn't sort of jump out that they can latch onto, it's going right in the pile, and they're moving on to the next one.
If it's an HR person, they've got a checklist, and they're scanning to see if they can find the things in it. That's it. If it's a manager, somebody who's going to hire, it's like, okay, something to catch my eye. I've got to look at 40 of these, and maybe I expect 4 to be good. So keep it clean. Don't worry about keeping it to one page. That's the other thing. In this day and age, you're not shipping a lot of paper around. You can make it longer as long as all the stuff you say is pertinent. So you can add details of, I worked on this project with this size of team, we did it in this period of time. As students, you haven't done much, so these details are okay. It gives us a better sense of who you are. So try those things, get a job, write us back.
There you go. All right, next up, got 2 questions this week on music, so I'm going to kind of combine both of these here. First up, Dr. Knox says, Monty, I'm a musical composer. What would the proper way to start shopping my music around to game devs be? So that one's from Dr. Knox. And then Abusive Pillow Talk. I said, I wanted to know how to get into the gaming side of music. I have a portfolio. Would you give me some advice on how I need to improve my portfolio? I compose and video edit on my resume. Being a starving artist would help me, be greatly appreciated. So again, kind of 2 people kind of coming at the same thing, both creatives in the music area. So what do they do here? How do they put their portfolios together and get out there?
So there's a couple of things. One of the things is people who come from a composing background, so they're pure musicians. There's a few things you have to understand about video game music. You're not always composing something where the music is the core of it. In fact, you aren't. It's complementary to the action. So I looked at who was it? Dr. Knox who sent his portfolio? No, Abusive Pillow Talk did. Yes. So I looked at that, and what you had was great sounding music, and you had a video that was synchronized with it. And as soon as I saw that, what happened in my head was, well, I don't know if you can make music that covers the game because the music won't be synchronized with action, right? It'll be playing in the background. It'll come in at certain times. And those things you don't have control over as the sound designer. So when you make it tied really tightly to the video action, there were a lot of cuts and things like that. Great job at doing it. You should look at trailer editing, but it doesn't let me understand the music. Video game music doesn't have an end. Like songs, there's sort of an up and down, and video games, it just has to keep going. It changes at sort of set points, and you have to do that in a way that's interesting. The other thing is I work with various folks. there's not as much work for straight up composers. So what people are looking for is a sound designer. So yes, you can compose and write some music. Awesome. Now, can you make me this sound or that sound? And can you go out and bring all these things together? So there's a lot of that demand that you've got to have these broader skill sets. In terms of how to sell yourself, you've got to find games that your music is in. And how do you find that? Well, you go back to our tried and true method, networking.
Go to a game jam.
Go to a game jam. Go find some indie who's barely able to eat and say, hey, can I do the music for your game? And if you put together good music, now in your portfolio piece, you have, here's a game, and I did the music for it. When, in fact, Abusive Pillow Talk was actually the first time, and I don't know how many times people have sent me music that I actually listened to it. Don't bother. People send me CDs. There's one guy for 8 years now.
CD.
He sends me CDs.
Who's got a CD player? You don't even have a CD player anymore. I
don't know what it is. It's just, I'm not going to do that because I know nothing about you. So, I'm not going to take the time to do that. And I don't mean to sound pompous about it, but you're just deluged with this stuff. So you've got to go, you find some games, you put it in there. As you do that, you get a chance to showcase things. We had a student work with us last summer. He was awesome. He was a tremendous talent. Really efficient, really great at coming back with edits and things like that. Fabulous. Well, he finished that up. We got him to do more music for us when we ran an event. He actually DJ'd the event. He wrote new music for that. 4 or 5 of the games that people worked on after they left the program, they worked with him because they've seen him do it, they've heard the music, they know it's good. And that's where you guys have to put yourself is, we're out there, we've done it, here it is, hire us now. And that's all there is to it.
That's all there is to it. Would you suggest one other quick thing, and I don't know how you feel as, would you suggest people take scenes? I guess you really couldn't do it with dialogue. I was going to say, like, I don't know in the game industry if it's looked at something good or frowned upon for somebody who's really just starting out to, instead of making a very MTV quick cut trailer style video to their music, but to take like more of a scene in a game or a game and kind of say, hey, I've recomposed music for a game like this. And then here I've recomposed music for a game like this. But I think do you think that's a good way to go about it? And they just need to let it breathe a bit more?
Yeah, I think that's something to try, and you should try that. And, do some A/B testing. Put the original and your score next to each other and ask some people, what do you think? How's this versus that? Those are certainly things to do, but at the end of the day, I need to see that you've done original stuff, and that means you've come up to a game, you've figured out what the rhythm of the game is, and you've made music that complements it. There was one game that I worked on, and it was supposed to be a positive, sunny game. The music, first round, it's like really dark and
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more off-putting than bad sound design. So I don't want to name names. If you follow my Twitter, I was disappointed by something last night. But brand new game just came out yesterday, and I won't say AAA title, but pretty big RPG just kind of hit the market, and I had high hopes for it. It looked really good, had good trailers and stuff. They just completely borked the writing, but the voiceover, a combination of the writing, the voiceover, and the sound design and the music choices and stuff, just completely ruined the game, and I uninstalled it in about 55 minutes. That's about all I gave it, just because it broke every bit of immersion the game had for me.
People have to realize that little things will put you off, and you're better off doing less well than a lot poorly. So if they hadn't done the voiceovers and they had text there, that would have actually been better than bad voiceovers.
So this is like, I don't want to say this is like a secret, but a little sort of like known thing, and I would imagine it even holds over for game design as well in that kind of circle, is that in the film world, if you can make an independent film and you could do really indie style, grainy, crappy sort of video shooting, like, all your visuals could be pretty bad. If you were to take that and edit it properly and then do amazing sound design on that, people will sit through it and watch it if you're telling a good story. Sound design is probably, in some instances, more important than the visuals. Now, if you flip that and you reverse that and you shoot something on like beautiful camera and you've got great shots and your director knew how to do all this, and then you just completely bork it on sound design and it sounds terrible and there's like noise floor and things, the human brain can't handle it and will not want to watch your film and they don't really know why sometimes, but they don't want to do it. So a good audio engineer, good sound design, good composer is sometimes it's so important to have that. I imagine it's exactly the same in a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. When it's wrong, it just kills you.
If I were making an indie game and had a very little money on like the production of the game, I actually would probably spend a really good chunk on getting really great music for it because I think it could really help, and sound design. All right, last one up today. Alex says, hi, Monty and Gary. Thanks for doing the show. It's really interesting. And he says, I have a small company and we are going to import a new type of food to the U.S. I don't know where this one's going. Says, I was thinking of creating a game to help people become comfortable with it. How should I do this?
Yeah, so I think this is just a bad idea. So Alex, I'd asked a question or two and I got a little more information. He didn't want to make a lot public, but he's got something that's unique that he wants to bring in. It's interesting, and if you've traveled, you probably come across it. That's great. And he's got this idea of building a game that will get people into it, understand it, put it into some sort of context. And the thing that gets me on it, the number one reason I say bad idea is this falls under the category of, what I like to call random acts of marketing. Hey, what should we do for marketing? Let's make a game.
Let's make a game.
What should we do for marketing? Let's get a guy with a sign. It doesn't fit together. So you've got to back away from this first and say, okay, who am I actually selling this to, right? Is this going to hit the hipster crowd? Is it going to hit the granola crowd? Is it going for young professionals? Who's actually really going to be interested in this?
And
then I would look at every other way of reaching them first other than a game. Most games fail. They stink. They're terrible. They don't work well. So you're going to take your shot at talking to these people and run a 90% chance of failing. Doesn't make any sense, will not help your product. You do not do this.
I think you and I have heard this time and time again. Gamification. Outside brands that want to make a game or do some sort of gamification to their brand to hit that sort of demographic. And you and I both know that one of the hardest things to do is create fun. Like you're creating it all starts there. And what a lot of these companies do is they think that the game has to sort of revolve. It's so much revolving around their product, and the core idea comes from a product that 99% of the time the game is stupid. The game's not fun. And if the game's not fun and the game is stupid, how does it empower your product at all? It doesn't.
No. You'd be better off standing on a street corner handing people dollar bills to listen to you for 30 seconds.
Yeah, you'd be better upcoming. I mean, if you want to get into something, something where you're trying to, I don't know, like maybe there might be something better of like creating some sort of like really cool incentivizing app or something, like an app that does something where but it's more of a purpose than a game. It's just,
a PR stunt, right? So they're bringing in something that's very different. Great. Now, do something that latches onto that. It's very different and get it into the media. Software, games, all this stuff, that's real work. That's real money. And if you can get PR, it's way cheaper. You do that, and then you go with some targeted media, and then once you're up and running and you think, oh, it would complement things if we rounded it out with a game or something else, do that when you got lots of cash flow.
Yeah, because I think there's probably been very few and far apart that the games that were attached to brands that worked, and they probably spent incredible amounts of money to get them, and they probably hired in amazing teams to make them because Like I said, 9 times out of 10, you're going to hire some team who's going to convince you that this is going to be the way to go, and they're just going to make some clone of something crappy, and just you're going to be stuck with a crappy game, and you're going to do nothing.
Yeah, and your new problem will be once, let's say you build a good game, how do you get anybody to play the game?
There's your next problem. All right, Monty Sharma, he's got all the answers. Follow him on Twitter at Monster, MONTSTER27. And if you have a question for the show, just send it over to monty@gamebreaker.tv. That is the email address you can send us questions, and we will answer them right here on the Game Biz. Always a pleasure, sir.
We'll see you next week.
You can follow me at Gary Gannon, and do not forget, if you guys have not checked it out, go check out World of Tanks. It's absolutely free to play, not pay to win at all. Just go to gboffer.com/tanks to check it out today. And by supporting World of Tanks, you are directly supporting GameBreaker as well. So check it out today, gboffer.com/tanks. All right, gang, we will be back next week for some more Game Business. Sending those questions, and we'll answer them. We'll see you next week.